What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm back with two stories, starting with this pretty scary one in which a man and a woman were just walking down their street in their neighborhood, minding their own business, when one of their neighbors comes up to them and says, "Just so you know, your husband has been cheating on you with my wife," out of the blue. The second is even crazier. This completely innocent car passenger is sent a letter from a lawyer asking for damages when their friend who was driving the car proceeded to try and cross a flooded river, obviously totaling it. So without further ado, sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's get into the first story. My husband and I were walking in our neighborhood when a man stopped us in front of his house and claimed that my husband was having an affair with his wife. This was originally posted on September the 1st, 2023. I am a 62-year-old woman, and my husband is 59. I'll call him John. We've been together for 26 years, married for 25 and a half. He is one of the most wonderful people I know. I had a very rough, dysfunctional, abusive childhood. It took years of therapy and tons of support from John to get to the other side and really learn how to love and trust. I also have ADHD, OCD, and suffer from severe anxiety and PTSD from my traumatic childhood. John has always been supportive and actually maintained a great sense of humour, especially with my ADHD. He actually was the one who suggested looking into a diagnosis. I was diagnosed about 10 years ago. We met when my daughter, who is now 34, Tessa, was 8 years old. I'd been a single mum, so Tessa and I are very close. We went to family counselling right after we married, John's suggestion, because we wanted to ensure we integrated our family and learned how to do that with steps. To say that it's been amazing is an understatement. John and Tessa love each other so much. It took a while, but we really worked at it. I tell you all of this to give a brief glimpse of why I trust John implicitly. We have gone through so much together. There were times that I thought that there was no way he was going to stay, that this would be the straw that broke the camel's back, but he's never left my side. When this man stopped us, he asked my husband if he was having an affair with his wife. Both this man and his wife are well into their 80s. We thought he was joking at first, and both of us just started laughing. We then realised that he was serious. At first, he tried to say that it occurred during lockdown for COVID while I was at work. I told him that was impossible because I'm a teacher and I taught remotely from home for over a year. We asked him why he thought this was occurring, and he said that his wife, who is in late stages of Alzheimer's, confessed it to him. We asked if he knew a time frame when this supposedly occurred, as we have motion cameras around our house. Yeah, I'm very paranoid, and we could get the footage so he could see that his wife has never been to our home. He said he didn't know, and he couldn't ask her due to the Alzheimer's. This whole thing was so surreal. I was furious. I told him there was no way this happened and my husband would never purposely hurt me. He said that's what all people say when confronted. There was a lot more back and forth, but he refused to back down, even though there was absolutely no evidence other than a confession from a woman in late stages of Alzheimer's. I am not naive, nor am I blind. There are zero red flags. My husband treats me so well and we do everything together. I 100% believe this so-called affair never occurred. But my question is, what do I do now? Do I get a restraining order to assure this man stays away from us? Of all the crazy that has happened in my life, this has got to top the list. So am I wrong to want to get a restraining order against an 80-year-old man? Wow. Let's jump straight into the comments and see what Reddit said. Somebody said, I mean, do you need a restraining order? You were in front of his house, right? Did he threaten you or say anything to make you think he'd bother you? Maybe he is also very confused. OP replied, yeah, he told John not to go near his property or he would be sorry. We're honestly just worried that he may own a firearm. It's impossible to not go near his property and I don't want my husband hurt. Now somebody else said this. Well, the thing is, it well could have happened. I was mistaken several times for my ex-girlfriend's grandmother's younger brother when I went to visit with her. It was awkward, but we navigated it, even after she threw a minor fit that I was dating my own grandniece, and it was wholly inappropriate and screamed the house down. I mean, that is a story in and of itself, wow. Alzheimer's chews Swiss cheese holes in the cerebellum, and to cope with it, the mind patches in convenient identities and fills in the gaps. Yes, I'm aware this is not accurate in a strictly technical or medical sense, it's a metaphor. Human minds are fragile, and we stretch and borrow to cover up holes in our memories. Yeah, I mean, that is definitely true. His wife might well have had an affair 20 years past or more, and your husband might have looked like that man, and she may have just replaced the identities. And her husband, hurt and wounded, confronted them, because even though he knows it's not OP's husband, he can't not, because not only is he absolutely wounded by the confession, but also that he knows it isn't his wife's lover, or even that his wife had an affair, but this is the only way he can cope with her dementia. What a truly awful situation for all of them. OP, her husband, the accuser, and his wife. There's just no good side here. Everything sucks here, but in my opinion, nobody does. Yeah, fair. I did immediately think of that, like, okay, it may not be OP and her husband, but this man's wife may also be telling the truth. It's just not about OP's husband. OP replied saying, well, we were discussing this afterwards. I really am ignorant about the effects of Alzheimer's, but I thought that perhaps could be the case. My husband works from home. During lunch, he takes laps around the neighborhood and thinks that maybe that is where she saw him. And finally, someone else said, my grandfather had Alzheimer's that caused him to believe things that never happened. He didn't understand that it wasn't true because he, quote, remembered going through it. This is one of the few times I'd say to let it slide. If you see the man again, just say that you looked through all your camera footage and alerts and there was nothing suspicious. You can't say for sure that she didn't cheat, but you can say it wasn't with your husband. Yeah, I like this idea, said OP. He must be so lonely. And then to be dealing with this, I think he wants to believe her because that would mean she's normal again and remembering things, even if they are bad things. Yeah, wow. I mean, very tough, very sad, but probably true. Okay, so the next day we got the update. First, I'm reading all of the comments and taking them to heart. I read all of the time people thanking the Reddit community for their help and insight, and that's not a lie. You've all shared your stories and really educated me about these horrible disorders. I never realized how horrendous Alzheimer's and dementia are, and not only how they affect the person with the disorder, but the devastation this has on those that love them. You have helped to understand how this man and his wife need our compassion and grace. I did speak with a person in the neighborhood. I was worried about getting anyone involved officially because, as many pointed out, this could cause more harm than good. She assured me that they do have children and friends that do check on them, but she actually hasn't seen them around a lot lately. She'll reach out to them. Next, I was walking around our neighborhood. Some people suggested that I don't walk by their house, but that would be impossible. Think of it like a thermometer shape. We live in a long street with a cul-de-sac at the end, but in the middle is this big island with 5 houses on it. Anyway, at one point the gentleman knocked on his window and pulled the top down. He asked to speak with me. I said that may not be the best idea, as he essentially accused my husband of a horrendous crime. He said he'd only take a few minutes and it was not something bad. I told him I'm not going to go on his property, and I actually backed up to the middle of the street. He then asked if I would be okay with him going onto his porch, and I said yes. He immediately apologized. He said my husband's demeanor was what made him realize that there was not any truth to what his wife said. He said what many of you have told me about Alzheimer's, and he realized what his wife told him could not have occurred. I told him that I was so happy that he realized this, because after all I'd learned in the last 12 hours, it was breaking my heart that this may be the last memory he had of the person he spent almost his whole life with. He thanked me, so I'm thanking all of you that made me realize compassion and grace should be the go-to. We actually then had a nice conversation. We all together talked for about 15 minutes. He asked me to apologize to my husband for him. I told him I would, and we said see you later. He had a really big smile on his face. Again, I do not think this would have ended this way without all of your input, even those of you that called me a Karen. That's okay. I used to teach at a behavioral school. I've been called worse. Okay, there we go. What could have been, I think, a pretty terrible ending to this story. I mean, I was getting a little bit worried when OP was talking about, yeah, we don't know if this man's got a gun or not. And yeah, I mean, someone at that age with nothing to lose, who's just been told by their wife of, I don't know how many years she cheated on him with a neighbor who just lives around the corner. I mean, could have gone a lot worse. So yeah, well done to Reddit and well done to UOP for actually understanding what is probably happening here. And also fair play to this man as well. Like, I'm sure he did actually believe what his wife had told him, and it must be so horrible and hard and tough having to deal with your partner getting Alzheimer's and just knowing there's nothing you can do. I've not had any experience myself personally with dementia or Alzheimer's really in my family. I know my great-grandmother had it, but I barely really met her. But yeah, get in the comments down below, guys. Any tips and advice for people that are dealing with something like this? It's a truly terrible situation, is all I can say, really. But let's get into our next story. Last month, a friend began to cross a flooded river in his car with me in it. I jumped out, and I now have a letter from his lawyer asking for damages. This was posted on December the 2nd, 2018. Early in November, we went to pick up car parts after work that my friend, I'll call Aaron, because his name's Aaron, and I think he's being an idiot, had bought on eBay. We had to go through some back roads to get to the property and picked it up and all was well. It had been raining for part of the day, but it really picked up when we were loading the parts, and we got to a causeway we'd passed only an hour before, but it was now covered in what looked like half a meter of water, and we stopped. I'd been navigating, and I knew that we could back up and take another much longer route, even though the highway was just a bit on the other side of the causeway. There was no way I'd go through the water as it looked. I'd been caught on a causeway 20 years ago in less water and had my car pushed off into the river. I didn't want to risk it. I didn't lose that car, but it's one of the scariest moments of my life. I said we had to turn back and we could take a different road 10 kilometers around, but that would take us via a bridge over the same river. Aaron decided to push on and started moving, and I panicked and I got straight out. It was far more water than I'd had to go through when I nearly lost my car and life before. I got out well before the water though, so I didn't let any water in the car, by the way. Aaron didn't even get halfway across, and the water pushed his car off the side, rolled it completely over, and it ended upright on the bank 50 meters downstream. He was extremely lucky not to drown, and I ran down and I helped him out. Immediately he was aggressive and combative because he said with my weight in the car he'd have made it across. Admittedly, I'm 130 kilograms plus, but his car is a 1,650 kilogram Commodore wagon with a couple of 100 kilos of eBay parts in the back, so it's not like I'd have made that much difference. We phoned for help, and the river went down within an hour and made it across the causeway by foot. We haven't spoken since, and he's avoided me in places we usually go. But on Friday, I received a letter from a lawyer I know is real in our town, but it sounds like it was written by my friend. It's asking for $50,000 for the car and personal damages because I made the car unsafe by getting out. It was a 1997 Commodore, maybe worth $1,500 on a good day. Someone reassure me. It's not up to me to sit in someone's car when they're doing something dumb, is it? Goodness me, what a question to ask. Obviously not, but yeah, let's get into the comments first of all before we get into the update. Somebody said, so what I gather from this is your friend wants to cross the river washed road. You say it's a bad idea. He says, nah mate, I'm doing it. You get out at fear of your own safety. Friend drives in and car washes away. Your friend blames you because 130 kilograms of you could have saved it. Yeah, that sounds like a load of rubbish. I don't think you're liable for that. However, I will consult an attorney for legal advice pertaining this to the situation. You were in imminent danger and acted on it by ensuring your own safety. There's nothing wrong with that. However, do not repost responses here and show him what people say to you. You could be liable for reasons or even be incriminated. Wow, it's a bit scary. OP replied, yeah, that is exactly what happened. I got carried away in a moment of salivating over internet justice. I won't say anything to him about this post. Somebody else said, your friend, or probably ex-friend, is an idiot. Hasn't he seen the "if it's flooded, forget it" adverts that the blood police put out every time there's a decent amount of rain? It's unlikely that an actual solicitor would have written such a letter of demand, given how patently ridiculous the claim is. But you'll want to double check that's actually the case by calling them directly using a number taken from their website. If they did actually write the letter, just hang tight until you're actually served with a lawsuit. Get a solicitor of your own at that point. If they didn't write it and you're feeling petty, uttering false documents is an actual criminal offence, so you could dob him into the police. Personally, I just dropped this idiot like a hot spud. Not only did they try to risk your life, they're now trying to extort money from you because they played stupid games and won a stupid prize. And finally, somebody said, I used to practice law in New South Wales. I'm no longer authorised to practice there, and this cannot be relied upon as legal advice, but general advice to inform your next steps. 1. Observe whether the letter of demand states due date, and whether they provided you with time to reply. If you do not comply with those dates, then the next step for Aaron is to follow statutory process for reissuing the letter of demand until eventually bringing a claim to court for a debt owing. I recommend you look to NSW statute on the letter of demand process. It details the time periods and process. Number 2, do not contact the lawyer or speak to Aaron or write or say anything to them or other people around them. Do not try to write to them about your version of events. If I was advising a client, I would instruct them to delete any Reddit post as well, as it is relevant advice that can be used to cross-examine any written evidence you wish to provide, and it may undermine your credibility as a witness. Given a formal dispute may be a he, she said situation, your reliability as a witness is important. Wait, really? It just feels a little bit like silly to me. It's so obvious that this is all a load of rubbish. Like, how can you claim damages from someone for getting out of a car and saying it's $50,000 and then saying that 130 kilos would have made a difference? What is this even? What's going on here? Why does this have to get so technical and serious? But anyway, last point from this user, you should retain a lawyer promptly who will draft a response to the letter of demand and provide you with counsel. It's a lot, isn't it, for just the most bogus claim ever? Anyway, OP replied, there's no due date or info about a time to reply, just the statement that because of my actions, their client is out of a total $50,000 and I need to pay it. It's like they've already found me guilty. There's nothing about court or how to pay or when. It makes me think it's more likely a fakie. I won't contact Aaron about it or ask him to read over this thread. In the case I want to save myself money and just send a copy to the lawyers involved and say, can I get you to validate that this was sent from you? Is that likely to be a risk, or should even that go through a lawyer I pick? I recognise that might be going beyond what you're allowed to advise. I'll probably hit up a lawyer of my own this week. Okay, let's get into the update then. This was posted on December the 11th. That's 9 days after the original post. I went to a lawyer my parents had used a few years ago and they recommended. She took one look at the letter from my friend Aaron's lawyers and said she has concerns about it and she'd respond. She contacted his lawyer, and my lawyer mailed to me to tell me that Aaron's lawyers aren't his lawyers at all, but to contact her if I heard more, otherwise there's no need for more action. Aaron had apparently faked up the letter and admitted as much to me yesterday when he finally decided to talk to me. He wants me to retract my complaint to his lawyers about him using their letterhead. I hadn't complained to them myself, so I did the time-honoured thing and I told him to go and pound sand. Well, I suppose that's a good ending. But from my perspective, that was just so obvious the entire time. I don't know why we really needed all these lawyers to get involved and give really serious answers to something that was just so obviously fake. Clearly it was fake. I don't know, I've not seen it, but it just sounded fake right from the off, right? This was posted to r/legal advice, so obviously there was proper advice backed by law given to OP, but from my perspective, I just don't think it needed any of this. However, better to be safe than sorry, and usually, I say sometimes to my detriment, I'm like, oh, it's fine, when actually you need to be a bit more serious about things, and maybe this was the right thing to do. But yeah, in terms of Aaron, just clearly an idiot anyway, driving through a river, or, not a river, but a road that's covered in water, and maybe even more of an idiot now that we know that he's done all of this. What I would say is this. I think it would be worth making him face some repercussions because he's probably put quite a lot of stress on you. The fact that you had to think about this, probably some anxiety, you've had to make this whole thread and interact with genuine lawyers on the internet, for better or worse. I would make sure that he does face some sort of karma from this, and I would make sure that the lawyers whose letterhead he stole are notified, and that, yeah, maybe leave it with them and say, well, use that information as you will, but I would definitely make people aware of what he's done. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you want more from me right away, check out this playlist on screen with all my Reddit relationship stories in it. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, and I will catch you very soon with some more crazy Reddit drama.